Great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
No worries at all. That's sick.
So let's get into your journey, and to begin that, I know we're all getting to a point where we're getting a little tired of COVID and the pandemic, but every place in the world had a different response. Australia was different from America, and it affected all of us in a very specific way. So how did you survive the pandemic, and how did it change the way that you do things now?
Yeah, so the pandemic in Victoria, Australia, I was in Bendigo at the time, was very like strict. We got there was lockdowns, there was curfews, there was all that kind of stuff. Because of that, I was working at a gym at the time, and that gym shut down. So the house I was renting, obviously, I didn't have money to pay the rent, and the girl that I was with at the time, we split up as well because of the financial issues and some other issues. It's always a lot of issues. It's not just one thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was forced to move back in with my parents where I am now, and because of that, like I'd spent, 4 years of my adult life. I was 22 at the time. 4 years of my adult life, kind of building this life, starting, the house and all that kind of stuff, and you think you're getting off the ground, and um, yeah, I just kind of felt like a failure when I got to mum and dad. So I started using like drinking a lot and spending a lot of time on my own, and um, yeah, that's kind of how a lot. It's crazy here. Drinking was massive here during COVID. Nothing
Yeah.
else really was. They kind of kept the pubs open, the bottle shops open, but the gyms closed, the churches closed, everything else closed. It was a weird, crazy time.
It was here too. I noticed in the liquor department things were always flush, but people in America were getting toilet paper, and there was no reason for it. It was like someone started doing it, and all of the herd just followed him. It was bizarre.
That's yeah, here as well. Here we couldn't get toilet paper for ages.
So weird. So weird. The whole thing was. So let's get to what you do right now. And to do that, to simplify it or to explain it in the best possible way, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade schoolers. It's career day, and one of the kids is curious and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I work one on one with people, getting them in shape, getting them off drugs and alcohol through daily habits, through eating better, through finding a bigger purpose in life other than themselves and their pleasures and their desires and their vices.
And in this post-pandemic era of living, that has to just skyrocket it.
Yeah, yeah, I've wanted to do it since I was a kid. I just didn't realize I could until 3 years ago. So I've always wanted to coach, mainly with physique and everything like that, but I yeah, overcame addiction myself with no external help, and I figured like why not help people with that? The way I did it was like gym and eating well, and yeah.
So ultimately, when you were a kid, you're living your dream. You wanted to be a coach. That was your dream.
I asked myself, what would I do if money wasn't an issue, and I had to do it for the rest of my life, and this is exactly what I do for this was the answer. So.
That's awesome. So what were the foundational seeds that were planted into you as a kid growing up that made you want to be a coach and to eventually get to this dream place that you wanted to be at?
I was I'm the youngest of four, so my like desire to be a leader, my desire to be an older brother, I guess, and help people along has always been there. And then when I was younger, obviously we've got like mentors and people we look up to growing up, but the thing like no one really was like not good enough, but you know what I mean? They weren't really showing me the way properly with like the no drinking, no alcohol, everyone around here drinks. Um, and no one's really in shape. Everyone's like very small-minded in the way of their dreams and ambitions. So, yeah, it was just I wanted to be the leader that I never had, and I think we've all kind of got that desire, but yeah, I guess I made it happen.
So you eventually overcame the drugs and alcohol. You've achieved this life of being a coach that you dreamed of. Who has been that inspiration, that hero for you to get to this point?
The main mentor that pushed me towards it was Wes Watson. I worked with him for a bit. Like I said before, I listened to Andy Frisella. He kind of started and broke me out of the working class. Getting money is bad and chasing your dreams is like not realistic and all that kind of stuff. He kind of got me out of that. My dad was my main mentor my whole life. Very hardworking, but never really broke out of the money cycle. We don't struggle, but we don't do extremely well, and I always seen that as an opportunity.
So if you could meet one person alive on the planet that would help you in your life as a coach and with your job, spend some time with them, ask some questions of them, who would that be?
Um, Probably Andy Vasella, I
Yeah.
reckon. I've worked one on one with Wes Watson, so I've spoke with him a lot of times and had the ability to ask questions and stuff like that. But I'm not. I will admit I'm not super active in asking. I've always been like an observer. I've always been like someone that can look at the kind of structure and the questions everyone else is asking and kind of get mine answered. I'm very like call it egotistical or stubborn, but I like doing stuff my own way and finding my own way, which is a good quality for the line of work I'm in, but not with being coach. So maybe something to overcome later. But I've always got massive fulfillment through doing stuff on my own and finding my own way and answering my own questions.
So at the end of the day, what your job is giving a lot of yourself to help people get to a better place. And I'm sure it can be quite heavy. What is it that gets you up every day to do this work? Not only to help others, but you also have to evolve as a human yourself. What is that collective energy every day for you?
And anytime I try to like tell myself I'm not going to do something, anytime I say like, oh, I'm not going to go to gym, I'm not going to do this, I just always take myself out of it and kind of affirm to myself that I'm an example and like everyone's going through the same struggles and all that kind of stuff. There's no big thing that drives me. I just took myself out of self a long time ago and sometimes you get stuck in it, but yeah, I always like to as soon as I'm trying to like get out of something or um be lazy, I'm always like I'm supposed to be a leader and that's what I'll do.
So, in this journey of being a coach, I'm sure there's times where you run into people where you're not expecting that they're going to teach you a lot. You're the one they're coming to help them, but sometimes we run into situations where you learn a lot. Was there a particular situation where you unexpectedly learned a lot from a client that helped you grow and evolve as a human?
I learned a lot. I learned with every single client that I sign on, I always learn at least like one thing. The big thing was probably at the start. I did a lot of free work at the start, as you do. You're not getting paid for it. But what I learned with giving stuff away for free is that's how people value it, right? They
Yeah.
don't value it. There's no value on it. They're not really fully committed. That them paying was like them in their mind making an investment and holding them accountable to follow the program. When I gave things away for free, it just people treat it as such. They half-assed it. They didn't really put all their work in. As soon as I started getting paid clients, these guys killed it. I'm like, these guys are unreal, but they're just different people. The person that's willing to pay for stuff and invest and commit, that person will always kill it way harder than the person that just wants things for free.
So, of all of these things that you've accomplished and evolved into in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Getting off drugs and alcohol. That's the main thing. If
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that, man, I wouldn't even be me right now. I used to have dreads and everything. I wouldn't even look like me. I wouldn't be talking like me. Yeah, getting off drugs and alcohol was the biggest thing for sure. And you ask any ex-addict, anyone that struggles with vices, whether it's food, whether it's drinking, whether it's alcohol, sorry, whether it's drugs, it's always the same thing. I'm
Yeah.
so glad I lost all the weight and, you know, now I don't fucking go to food all the time, or I'm so glad I don't drink anymore. I'm so glad I don't do drugs. It changes you as a person. When you're not controlled by things, when you don't need things, that's what builds inner strength.
Yeah.
It's not like anything you acquire from everything else. It's out of a spot of you don't need anything to be happy. You don't need anything to live. You don't need anything to be you, to be confident, to be proud. You need nothing. You're just you. That's where real strength comes from.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into a much younger version of yourself before all these changes happen to you, say 18, 19, 20, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you live, the wisdom you've gained over the time. What advice would you impart on that young version of you?
To You got really good questions. I think you've gotten that before. To don't believe everything you hear or everything you see. Always make your own judgments and Only listen to people that are in a spot that you want to be in.
Yeah.
If some mediocre person that has achieved nothing in their life is giving you advice, just block it out, move forward, and then take the advice from someone who you want to be like.
Speaking of advice, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
The best advice I ever gotten was to focus on creating the person I want to be rather than acquiring the things in that life that I want to get. So instead of focusing on the Lambos and the penthouses and all that kind of stuff, you're just focusing on a daily schedule on what that person that owns the Lambo and the penthouse would act like and talk like and come into rooms like that.
So at the end of the day, speaking of the person that you are, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, all of your clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? This is not something you always think about, huh?
No, it's more of a therapeutic question. It can be deep, but it can also be simple in the complexity of it.
I like to think that I'm. Are you talking just qualities or who I am as like a being?
Just kind of like people see you in a certain light. Like all of your clients see you in a light, your family sees you in a light. Everyone that knows you in different capacities has this idea of you, but ultimately you're the driving force of you. So who do you think you are as you project to the world?
I think I'm here to do a job that like we're all here to do, and that's to help everyone kind of evolve as a consciousness, not just as a human being, but as like a as an entity. And I don't know, I'm not like I don't look at myself as some like special star that's like, here to do this massive thing. I'm just here to do what I think everyone's job is, and that's to make people better and to um yeah, bring them I guess to where their higher self would be.
So, if anyone out there that might be on the fence or thinking about needing help, needing coaching, what's your pitch right now for them to reach out to you, contact you, and make that next step in their lives?
It's always through Instagram, so everyone contacts me through Instagram. It's just my name with an extra G on the end, so Nathan Buttigieg, extra G on the end. People just send me messages, starting conversations. They see my posts or whatever. It's not like you follow me and I instantly start selling to you. I'm probably never going to sell to you unless you ask a question that kind of leads into that. So say hey, say what's up, and I'll send you a message back and we'll have a conversation like people because social media has this weird thing of like there's tons of coaches trying to sell and everyone's trying to market. I try very hard to just be a person online, and if you want services or you need help, then we go from there.
I love it. Nathan, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And best of luck with everything.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. This was great, man. Hey, thank you. Have a great day. I'm glad we got up. It's great to run into you. So continued success, man.
Thank you, man. You too. I
Take care.
appreciate it.
Cheers. Take care.